This week, Marvel's What If has come to a close with its series finale, so this is my review for the entire series. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. As y'all know, I'm a huge Marvel fan, and What If was a series I was really looking forward to watching. Now, I couldn't do episode by episode reviews for this one because my school started, and it's just kind of hard to do episode by episode reviews and edit them and all that stuff. So that's why I decided I'm just going to do a full review once the series ends, and now it has ended, so this is my review for the entire series. Before I share my thoughts on what I thought of What If, let me know down in the comments, what do you guys think of this show? And the way I'm kind of going to structure this is, for the first half, I'm going to talk about it spoiler-free without any spoilers, just my general thoughts. And the second half, I'm going to go into some spoilers, and I will give a spoiler warning, so that way if you have not seen the show yet, it doesn't get spoiled for you. With that said, let's get started talking about it. And I thought that this show really delivered on what it was supposed to. I really enjoyed kind of the what-if novelty and all the different scenarios that took place, and I feel like every episode really delivered on what that scenario would have delivered on. I found it interesting, intriguing, and almost every episode really kept me interested the entire time. Even if it wasn't a great episode, as some of the episodes were, I still thought that it had an interesting enough storyline for me to watch it and still enjoy it. The biggest reason I was excited for this show was to see all the different scenarios and just the fun novelty of What If, and I think the show really delivered on that, so that's something that I really enjoyed about it. I also thought that the animation here was really good. It was really great to look at. It was really well shot. It was really smooth, and the way it was done in the action sequences, it's just really cool to look at, and when you're watching it, it really feels tense and like all the action sequences actually have stakes. The choreography in the action sequences is also really good, and the animation kind of helped that a little bit. I thought the show was also really visually really cool. I thought the different colors were great, and every episode kind of has a little bit of a different visual style depending on what time it's taking place in the MCU, and I thought that was really cool. And like I said, I thought all the different stories were interesting, and with that, the technical aspects with the animation, action, and visuals, it really elevated each of the stories for me. I also really like the voice acting here. A lot of the actual actors from the MCU are returning to voice the characters. I thought that was really good. And even for the actors that did not return to play their roles, specifically Black Widow and Iron Man, Natasha Romanoff and Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr. and Scarlett Johansson did not return to play those roles. It was other voice actors, and I thought they were pretty good. I think they did a pretty good job of impersonating Tony Stark and Black Widow, that it did not really take me out of the show. For the most part, I was able to believe that it was those characters, so I thought even the actors that did not return, the characters were still pretty good. And because this is What If, the show also does a ton of things that you can't do in the MCU. There's stuff that it does that if you do in the MCU, it will have huge consequences. But because this is What If, it does explore those sides of the story. And because of that, it really works really well. And specifically in episode 4, when you watch episode 4, if you have seen the show, you know what I'm talking about. It is so good, it is so dark that, you can't do that in the MCU. If you do, you probably can't make any more movies going forward. So I thought that was really well done, and the way that was explored and each of the episodes, just really good. I also really like that each of the episode is different and explores different sides of the MCU. Some are really dark and some are just fun to watch, and because of that, I really enjoyed it, and I feel like the way they explored the storyline and because everything was different, it always felt fresh and new, and it did not feel like it was repetitive and doing the same thing over and over again. Finally, I want to talk about the finale. I thought the finale here was great. I'm someone that's disappointed by all 3 of the previous Marvel Disney Plus finales. For WandaVision, I feel like I gave it too high of a praise when I first saw it. I feel like I would bring that down quite a bit now. And for Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I thought it was a pretty good finale, but it was disappointing as a whole. And even for Loki, I feel like the finale for Loki was just too talky, did not have enough action, and just did not feel exciting enough. I enjoyed all 3 of the shows, but the finales were disappointing to me. And for What If, I thought the finale was really good. It really delivered on what the show was supposed to deliver on, and by the end of it, I just felt like I had a great time watching it. Now, the show itself, I don't think is the best of the Disney Plus shows, but the finale is by far better than all 3 of the previous finales, in my opinion. Now, I did have quite a few negatives, so let's talk about that. I thought that every episode is different, and as much as I enjoyed that, I also feel like that may have kind of put some division in the fan base. Like some people are gonna like some episodes more than the other ones. Some people are gonna like the darker episodes, and some people are gonna like the more lighthearted episodes. And I can definitely see where they're coming from, but because of that, it's not like it has a consistent quality to it. Now, when I saw the episodes, like I said, I had a fun time with all of them, but I liked some way more than I liked the other ones. Like there were a couple of episodes that were just kind of rehash of the movies, or they just weren't interesting enough that I still enjoyed them. I still had fun time watching them. They were still watchable. But then there's other ones that have much more greater consequences that I liked a whole lot more. So quality wise, the show is very inconsistent. You're gonna like some episodes a lot more than the others. And that's just how it is. You can't really change that because it is an anthology series. I also thought that the show had some plot conveniences and inconsistencies with the MCU, and for the most part I could forgive that because the episodes themselves, I did enjoy them, but they kind of bugged me, and looking back on them, I do feel like they kind of ruined that little moment from the show. It's not as big of a deal if the episode itself is good, and for the most of them, they were good, but I just think that they could have done a better job of just fleshing that out a little bit better, so it just does not feel like it just kind of happened for the sake of happening. And my final issue, my biggest issue with all these episodes is that I feel like they should have been longer. Like, most of them are really short. They're only like 30 minutes. And because a lot of them are exploring different movies of the MCU in different ways, I feel like they should have at least been like 10 or 15 minutes longer to explore that a little bit more. Especially episode 1. Episode 1 is with Captain Carter. I'm not going to spoil anything yet. But I feel like if that episode was longer, they could have done a much better job of fleshing out the characters, and I would have cared a lot more by the end. Now, there were a couple of episodes that were a few minutes longer, like 5 to 10 minutes longer, and that did kind of help. I did like that. And I feel like if the other episodes were also a little bit longer, it would have helped those episodes be fleshed out, and I would have enjoyed them more, like I did the ones that were longer. Alright, so that's my spoiler-free section of the review. Now I'm going to go into some spoilers. So if you have not seen the show yet, I'll leave the time codes down below in the description so you can skip over the spoiler section. And with that said, 3, 2, 1, now spoilers. This is your spoiler warning. If you have not seen the show yet, skip over this part. Now pretty much what I'm going to talk about is I'm going to give my quick thoughts on each of the episodes, and then I'm going to talk about the ones that I really, really loved, specifically the last 2 episodes and the Doctor Strange one. Now, the first episode here is, of course, with Captain Carter. I thought this was too much of a rehash of Captain America the First Avenger. It just felt like the same movie played out again, just much shorter. And because of that, it did not have enough time to be fleshed out, which is why I feel like it should have been longer. But the episode itself, it was fine. It had some good moments. And I did enjoy some of the action in there. I thought it was pretty good. Still good, but one of the weaker episodes of the show. And then, of course, you have the T'Challa episode with him becoming Star-Lord. I thought that episode was quite a bit better than the first one. It really did a good job of exploring the what if, and because you have T'Challa, who's a much different character than Peter Quill is, when he becomes Star-Lord, he's able to do things that Peter Quill can't. He, of course, turns the Ravagers into, like, Robin Hood, I guess. You know, they're helping the poor, stealing from the rich and stuff. And that really, I feel like, worked really well with the character of T'Challa. And of course, he also turns Thanos kind of into a good guy and turns him away from his genocidal mission. And I thought that was also really explored really nicely. And because of that, I feel like this episode was quite a bit better than the first one was. And then you have the third episode where Hank Pym kills all the Avengers. And that episode was just great. I thought it was a really good mystery. And you don't even find out what the what if is until the end. It is titled What If the Avengers Were Killed Before They Become a Team or something. But really the what if is, what if Hank Pym lost his daughter when she was working for S.H.I.E.L.D.? That's really the what if, which turns him evil and he kills all the Avengers. So I thought that was really nice. I really loved the way it was explored. And I was interested the entire episode. Now on rewatch, it's not as good as it's on the first watch because it's a mystery, but I still thoroughly enjoyed this episode, and I feel like it's one of the best episodes of the show. And then of course you have the fourth episode with Doctor Strange turning evil and, you know, all that fun stuff. Thoroughly enjoyed this episode. I think it's easily the best episode of the show, and I really loved the way everything was explored. It felt like a tragedy, and I really loved that. I'm going to talk more about it at the end, but it's easily my favorite episode of the show. And then you have the zombies episode with all the Avengers turning into zombies. Takes place kind of during Avengers Infinity War. And I really liked this one. This one was just really fun to watch, but it also had a lot of emotion going into it. Just the fun novelty of zombies was really fun, and seeing all these different characters turn into zombies was really cool. And I understand that technically they're not, generally speaking, they're not zombies because they still have their superpowers and abilities. But I was able to forgive that just because the episode itself was really fun. Now, the next two episodes I think are the weakest episodes of the show. Of course, the one with Killmonger and the one with Thor. I think the Killmonger episode just really felt like Black Panther just happening a little earlier in time. That just didn't work for me. I feel like they could have done a much better job of fleshing that out. And it also felt like an incomplete episode. By the end of it, if they added like 5 to 10 minutes, they could have actually resolved the story instead of leaving it as a cliffhanger, which is just not a good cliffhanger. And then, of course, the Party Thor episode, which I thought was good. It was fun. It had some really fun moments. But as a whole, it just did not feel like a great what if. Out of all the storylines you could explore, why would you pick that one? Because it just did not feel like a great what if episode like the Doctor Strange one did or the zombies one did. So definitely could have been better, but I was able to forgive that just because it was fun enough for me to watch. Now I want to go back and talk about the Doctor Strange episode a little bit more in detail because of how much I loved it. What I thought it did a great job of was just explore this tragedy. What if Doctor Strange lost Christine? What would he go through? And you see two versions of him. One's more good and one's more evil. And the evil version of him, what he does is he's not trying to be evil. He just goes down a dark path to try to save Christine. He studies all these different books. He absorbs a bunch of demons, and that turns him evil. And he earns all these superpowers, and this leads him down a dark path to try to save Christine. At the beginning, you see him try to save Christine over and over again by using the time stone, but it just doesn't work. So that's why he goes down a darker path. And that's what I really liked about this one. It really felt like a tragedy. When you see Christine die over and over again at the beginning, it is really, really sad and heartbreaking. And when he actually feels like he has a chance when he absorbs a bunch of demons and stuff, and in the end, with the fight against the actual Doctor Strange, the good one, when they're both fighting and he absorbs the good Doctor Strange, and it's just really cool the way it's shot. The music here is great. The action itself is really cool. And the visuals here were amazing just because, you have Doctor Strange's powers and stuff. So it's really cool to look at. And then when he actually tries to save Christine, this destroys his entire universe. And once he does save Christine, even she dies. And you see him kind of interact with the Watcher a little bit. And it is just heartbreaking to see this hero that went down a dark path to save the love of his life, but ends up destroying his entire universe. And she's not even saved. And it's just a really sad episode and really left on a dark note. And this is what I feel like every What If should have kind of been like. And I just loved it. I really loved the way it was explored. And I think it just did a fantastic job of telling the story in a way that we actually feel bad for this Doctor Strange, but we don't want him to win. This, of course, leads us to the episode where Ultron wins. He actually succeeds in his plan, and this time he destroys the entire universe. And now he has nothing to do. And then he realizes that there's a multiverse out there because of the Watcher, and he goes to destroy the entire multiverse. And this episode was just really fun, in my opinion. You have, of course, Hawkeye and Black Widow kind of doing their own little side story, trying to find Arnim Zola and stuff. And this kind of leads Ultron, of course, to fight with the Watcher, and then you have this whole battle where they're going through all the different universes and they're fighting each other. One of them also has an Easter egg about Captain America becoming the president, which I thought was really fun. And then the fight itself is really cool to look at because every punch that Ultron does, the universe starts changing, and it was just really cool to look at. But of course, at the end, when Ultron beats the Watcher in the fight, the Watcher has to go to the evil version of Doctor Strange from episode 4 and use his help to defeat Ultron. And I thought that was really, really nice. And it was just a really good cliffhanger to lead into the next episode, which is, of course, what if the Watcher broke his oath? And I feel like aside from the Doctor Strange episode, this was the best one because it, of course, has all the different what if characters coming together to try to defeat Ultron. And they, of course, formed the Guardians of the Multiverse. And I thought that was really nice. I thought it was kind of like the Avengers event of this show. And it was just really nice to watch. I really enjoyed all the interactions between all the characters. It was really fun. They had really fun banter together. And of course, Doctor Strange, you see a more redeemed version of him here. And he actually is helping save the multiverse. Yeah, sure, he destroyed an entire universe trying to save someone, but here he ends up saving the entire multiverse. So in the end, he actually does become a hero. But generally speaking, there's just a lot of fun moments here. Of course, there's that one moment where Thor throws his hammer at Ultron, and Doctor Strange just multiplies it, and they turn into like 1,000 Mjolnirs, and that's just really fun to look at. And then there's just a lot of other cool stuff that happen in the action sequences. There's just a whole one-shot of all the Guardians of the Multiverse fighting Ultron. It's just all done in one take, and it's animated really nicely. The background is really cool, and you see all the Guardians hitting Ultron, and it's really cool to look at. The way it's shot, the way it's kind of a 360 shot, it was really cool. And I feel like it's probably the best action scene of the entire show where they're all fighting Ultron. And there's also this really cool moment where Doctor Strange eats the Soul Stone and he kind of becomes overpowered. I thought that was a really cool sequence. And then, of course, Ultron gets all the stones again, and they try to destroy all the stones using the Infinity Crusher thing that Gamora has, but it doesn't work because the stones are from a different universe. Now, this was kind of a plot convenience. I was able to forgive that because I thought the rest of the episode was good, but I feel like they could have done a better job of explaining why that didn't work. But anyway, after that, they used the Arnim Zola arrow, and they tried, and Black Widow tries to shoot Ultron with it. It does work, and Zola takes over the Ultron body. But guess what? Killmonger shows up, and he takes all the Infinity Stones, uses Ultron's tech as armor, and then you see him and Arnim Zola kind of fight, and then Doctor Strange kind of traps them inside their own little parallel universe. And I thought that was really nice the way it was done, because you see all the Guardians, not the Avengers, you see them beat Ultron, but then you have Killmonger who has his own plans with the Infinity Stones. And I just loved the way Doctor Strange trapped them inside a parallel universe, and he used the stuff he learned through his really bad experience in episode 4 to his advantage here, and I thought that was really good. And then he of course has to take care of that little parallel universe for the rest of his life, and I thought that was just a great way to kind of redeem his character. And then of course all the other Guardians of the Multiverse return to their own universes, other than Black Widow. She goes to the universe where all the Avengers die, because Black Widow also died in that episode. And then there she kind of helps them fight Loki and stuff. And I thought it was just a really nice conclusion to her character as well, because she's lost a lot in the episode where Ultron wins, and she also loses Hawkeye. And I love the way in that episode, the way they recreated the scene where Black Widow dies, except this time it's actually Hawkeye dying, and it was just a really cool sequence. I love that as well. But of course, the finale also has a post-credit scene where we see that Steve Rogers is actually alive inside of the Iron Man suit that he had in the first episode, or something like that. I forgot what it's called. It's something related to the Iron Man suit. I'm not sure what it's called though. So I thought two things while watching that post-credit scene. The first thing is that maybe he's the Winter Soldier. Maybe he's actually, the Winter Soldier of this universe, and we're going to see that play out in season 2. That'd be really cool to watch. Or it could just be like Steve is just alive and he's still a good guy. It could be that too, but I think it would be really cool to see him actually be the Winter Soldier of this universe. So yeah, those are my thoughts on What If. No more spoilers, by the way. So now if you have not seen the show, you're good to go. There's no more spoilers here. And I just thought that this show really delivered on what I wanted from this What If scenarios, all these different fun alternate universes, and it really worked for me. And as a whole, I thoroughly enjoyed this series. Now, this is kind of a hard one to score because each episode is kind of different, and there are definitely some episodes that I did not like as much as I wanted to. If I had to, I'd probably give it a B, a really high B though. It's not closer to B minus, it's closer to a B plus. I did really enjoy it, and I would say if you have not seen the show yet, I would say it's worth a watch if you're a big Marvel fan. If you're just a general fan that just kind of watches the movies occasionally, probably not the best thing for you, but if you are a general Marvel fan, it's definitely worth watching. If you have seen the show though, let me know down below in the comments, what did you think of What If? If you enjoyed my review, be sure to leave a like, it really helps me out, and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.